This presentation explains how DNA is used to determine biological relationships such as paternity, maternity, and siblingship. We will take the lecture on siblingship in a separate video. It introduces the basic concepts behind genes, introns, STRs, and alleles, and explains how allele frequencies are used to calculate kinship indices and the probability of relationship. Through real examples and computed values, you will learn how DNA profiles provide strong scientific evidence to confirm or exclude biological relationships, an important tool in legal cases, family disputes, inheritance, and identity verification. DNA evidence is probabilistic. It provides strong likelihoods but not mathematical certainty. The Philippine Supreme Court issued rule on DNA evidence in 2007, which governs its admissibility and evaluation. Cases like People versus Vallejo and Umanito illustrate how courts weigh these probabilities in legal disputes. Across the world, countries have built national DNA databases to aid law enforcement. In the US, it's CODIS, the Combined DNA Index System. The UK runs the NDNAD, one of the first and largest. In the European Union, the PROM system allows member states to share DNA matches across borders. Germany's federal police maintain the BKA database, while Israel uses IPDIS, the Israel Police DNA Index System. Japan operates the DNA Profile Information Database System, and Russia has its Federal Genomic DNA Database. In the Philippines, we do not yet have a fully operational national forensic DNA database. What we have instead is a case-by-case approach. DNA profiling is conducted only when needed, and this is handled by accredited laboratories such as the PNP Forensic Group, the University of the Philippines Natural Science Research Institute, and the Philippine Genome Center, also in the University of the Philippines. Importantly, the PNP's DNA laboratory is already CODIS compatible, meaning it can align with global systems like those in the US and Europe. This sets the groundwork for a future national DNA database once enabling legislation is passed. The planned direction for the Philippines is to move toward a centralized national DNA database, as proposed in pending laws like Senate Bill 2474 and House Bill 1413. In technical and scientific discussions, this envisioned framework is often referred to as the Philippine DNA Database Analysis System. The goal is to institutionalize DNA profiling in a unified system, comparable with global standards, to strengthen forensic investigation and justice delivery. DNA profiling starts with genes, the basic units of heredity that carry out genetic information. Inside genes are non-coding regions called introns, where most DNA variations are found. Within these introns are short tandem repeats, or STRs, repeating DNA patterns that differ from person to person. These repeats form different versions called alleles. The allele frequencies show how common each allele is in a population and are used to calculate kinship indices, which measure how likely two people are biologically related. From these values, the probability of kinship, or POK, is determined. When results from several STR loci are combined, we get the combined probability of kinship, the CPOK, the overall measure of how strongly DNA supports a claimed family relationship. So just read these definitions. Most of the STR markers used in DNA profiling are found in the introns of the DNA chain. Introns are non-coding regions that lie between genes because they do not directly affect protein production. Variations in repeat numbers here do not influence a person's traits or health. This makes intronic STRs ideal for forensic and parentage testing. They provide high variability for identification while avoiding medically sensitive information. This visual shows the STR locus D7S820, where the repeat motif is C-tag. On one hand, inherited from the mother, the allele has 5 repeats of C-tag. C-tag means cytosine, thymine, adenine, and guanine. While on the other hand, the other strand is inherited from the father. The allele has 6 repeats. Together, the child carries both alleles, 5 and 6, at this locus. This illustrates how STR profiling records the number of repeats from each parent, creating a unique genetic signature for every individual. STRs are small stretches of DNA, usually 2 to 6 bases long, that repeat multiple times in a row at specific locations in our genome. For example, the sequence GATA, guanine, adenine, thymine, adenine, might repeat 3 times in one person and 7 times in another. What makes STR so valuable in forensic science is that the number of repeats varies greatly between individuals. By examining several STR markers, we can generate a DNA profile that is statistically unique for each person. This is the foundation of modern DNA profiling, comparing these repeat patterns to identify individuals, establish parentage, or test biological relationships. In short, STRs are the biological barcodes that make DNA identification both powerful and reliable. CODIS is built on a set of standardized STR loci. These are specific locations on the DNA where short sequences repeat. In the United States, the original core set was 13 loci, later expanded to 20 CODIS loci to increase discrimination power. These loci were chosen because they are highly variable between individuals but stable across generations. By comparing profiles across these standardized loci, forensic labs worldwide can reliably match samples, exclude suspects, and even share data across jurisdictions. In this table, you see 3 important columns: the STR locus name, its repeat motif, and the chromosome where that locus is located. For instance, D3S1358 is found on chromosome 3 with a TCTA/TCTG repeat motif. Also in locus VWA, it is located on chromosome 12 with a TCTA motif. And FGA locus is on chromosome 4 with a TTTC motif. The combination of locus, repeat motif, and chromosomal location helps ensure that the markers are used and are standardized, widely separated across that genome. By analyzing several such loci, we generate a DNA profile that is both highly individual and scientifically reliable. Those other letters you're seeing in some STR motif descriptions are IUPAC nucleotide ambiguity codes. They are used when the repeat unit is not always the same base at that position, but can vary among different alleles. At D7S820 locus, the motif is mostly GATA repeats, but there can be an inserted block of two thymines within the sequence. This is why some STR loci are labeled as compound or interrupted repeats rather than pure tetranucleotide STRs. The second table shows the IUPAC ambiguity codes used in STR repeat motifs. These codes represent positions where more than one nucleotide can occur. For example, R means either A or G, Y means C or T, and N means any base. In STR loci, you'll often see motifs like TCTA or TCTG written together as TCT parenthesis AG close bracket. Using these codes, understanding the ambiguity codes allows us to capture sequence variation more precisely and report STR repeats consistently across different laboratories. Different family relationships require different DNA tests depending on which relatives are available and how close the biological connection is. For paternity and maternity, the autosomal STR test is the gold standard. It confirms a biological parent with about 99.9% accuracy. In sibling testing, STRs are still used, but sometimes XSTR or YSTR markers are added to strengthen the analysis. Since siblings share fewer alleles than parents-child pairs. Grandparentage testing also relies on autosomal STRs to reconstruct the missing parent's genotype when the parent is unavailable. In avuncular testing, that is between an uncle or aunt and a niece or nephew, STRs, YSTRs, or XSTRs are combined to verify the collateral relationship. For cousins or extended kinship, more advanced methods such as NSP, arrays, or next generation sequencing are used to detect very small DNA segments shared across the genome. When the question involves maternal lineage, mitochondrial DNA sequencing is used because mitochondrial DNA is passed unchanged from mother to all her children. The table shows the different kinds of kinship indices used in DNA testing. A kinship index is a number that tells how likely two people are related by blood. For example, a paternity index checks if a man is the child's real father, and a maternity index checks if a woman is the child's real mother. When parents are not available, a full siblingship index or half siblingship index is used to see if two people share both or only one parent. There are also tests for other family links, like the avuncular index for uncle or aunt relationships and the grandparentage index for grandparents and grandchildren. In short, kinship indices help show the strength of genetic evidence for family relationships. The higher the number, the stronger the chance that the people tested are truly related. The sharing pattern shows how many alleles two individuals have in common at each STR locus. When both alleles are identical, like 13 and 14 versus 13 and 14, this is called IBS2 or identical by state 2, the strongest support for a full siblingship relationship. A DNA paternity test is a scientific method used to determine if a man is the biological father of a child. It compares the child's DNA with the man's DNA to see if they are sharing matching genetic markers. In this table, the first column labeled locus refers to the specific location of STR on the chromosomes or within the human genome. Each locus is a genetic marker used for DNA profiling. The child's alleles column shows two numbers representing the pair of alleles the child inherited, one from the mother and one from the biological father. Because the mother alleles are known, we can identify which allele she contributed to the child. These maternal alleles are colored red. The remaining allele, which cannot be traced to the mother, must therefore have come from the biological father. This allele is colored blue and is called the obligate paternal allele. The putative father number 1 genotype contains all the alleles present in the child, including every obligate paternal allele, meaning he cannot be excluded as the biological father. In contrast, putative father number 2 lacks the necessary paternal alleles found in the child's profile. So, he is excluded from paternity based on genetic evidence. The final column lists the allele frequencies, which represent the proportion of each allele found in a reference population. For example, at locus D3S1358, the allele 15 has a frequency of 0.20, meaning that 20% of the general population carries the STR allele 15 at that locus. The paternity index, or PI, is a measure of how strongly the DNA evidence supports that a tested man is the biological father. It is computed using the formula PI is equal to 1 divided by P, where P represents the allele frequency of the obligate paternal allele, the allele in the child that came from the biological father and is not shared with the mother. For each STR locus in this table, we divide 1 by the allele frequency of that obligate paternal allele. For example, at locus D3S1358, the obligate paternal allele 18 has a frequency of 0.10. So, PI is equal to 1 divided by 0.10, which is equal to 10. A higher PI indicates a rarer allele and therefore stronger genetic evidence for paternity. In contrast, putative father number 2 lacks the child's paternal alleles at every locus, so his PI cannot be computed. He is genetically excluded as the father. Thus, only putative father number 1 shows a consistent genetic match with calculable PI values across all loci. After calculating the paternity index at each locus, we multiply them to get the combined paternity index, or CPI. For putative father number 1, the indices multiply to about 90,000, meaning the child's DNA profile is 90,000 times more likely if he is the father than if the father were a random man. But the CPI is still a ratio. It doesn't directly tell us the chance of paternity. To make it easier for judges and lawyers, we convert the CPI into the probability of parentage, or POP. POP represents the likelihood expressed as a percentage that the tested man is the biological father given the DNA evidence and a prior probability usually set at 50%. For putative father number 1, the POP is 99.9989%, which under the Philippine rule on DNA evidence creates a disputable presumption of paternity. By contrast, putative father number 2 has a CPI of 0, so his POP is 0, meaning he is conclusively excluded. POP therefore translates the statistical ratio into an understandable probability of fatherhood for the court. The probability The probability of paternity shows how likely it is that the man is the biological father of a child based on DNA results. In this example, putative father number 1 has a POP of 99.9989%, meaning he is almost certainly the child's biological father. Under the rule on DNA evidence, this is very high probability and creates a disputable presumption of paternity. Meanwhile, putative father number 2 has a 0% probability, which means he is excluded as the biological father. A DNA maternity test is used to confirm if a woman is the biological mother of a child. It compares the child's DNA with the woman's DNA to see if they are sharing a matching genetic markers. This test is often used in hospital baby mix-ups, adoption, verification, immigration cases, and disputed maternity claims. Because it provides a very accurate results, it is widely accepted in court as reliable proof of biological motherhood. The maternal index, or MI, is a statistical tool used in forensic DNA analysis to measure the strength of genetic evidence when comparing a child's DNA with that of a possible mother. It works in the same way as the paternity index, but instead of testing father-child relationships, it evaluates whether the woman in question could be the biological mother. By calculating how likely it is that the child's alleles came from the putative mother compared to a random, unrelated woman, the MI provides a clear, quantifiable measure for establishing or excluding maternity. The maternity index measures how likely a woman is the biological mother of a child compared to an unrelated woman. It works the same way as the paternity index, but it tests for maternity instead. In this example, putative mother number 1 is excluded at all DNA loci because she does not share the required maternal alleles with the child. Meanwhile, putative mother number 2 shows matching alleles and high MI values across all STR loci, the highest being 14.286 at locus FGA. A higher MI value means stronger genetic evidence that the woman is the child's true biological mother. The combined maternity index, or CMI, is the overall value obtained by multiplying all the individual maternity indices from each DNA locus. In this example, putative mother number 1 has a CMI of 0, meaning she is excluded as the biological mother. On the other hand, putative mother number 2 has a CMI of about 20,887, which means her DNA profile is 20,887 times more likely to be observed if she is the true biological mother of the child than if she were unrelated. A higher CMI gives stronger genetic evidence supporting maternity. The probability of maternity tells how likely it is that a woman is the biological mother of a child, based on the combined maternity index. It is calculated using the formula POM equals CMI divided by CMI plus 1. In this case, putative mother number 2 has a probability of maternity, or POM, of 99.995%, which means the DNA evidence overwhelmingly supports that she is the biological mother. Meanwhile, putative mother number 1 has a POM of 0, indicating genetic exclusion. According to the interpretation table, A POM greater than 99.9% is considered practically proven maternity, while lower values show weaker or no genetic support for the relationship. A DNA sibling test is used to find out if two people are biological brothers or sisters. It compares their DNA to see how much genetic material they share. This test is commonly used in inheritance cases, immigration applications, child custody disputes, and when parents are unavailable for testing. It helps confirm whether individuals share one or both biological parents. This slide shows the differences between DNA testing for full siblings and half siblings. A full sibling test checks if two people share both biological parents, while a half sibling test checks if they share only one parent, either the same mother or the same father. Full siblings usually share about 50% of their alleles, giving higher siblingship index or SI and probability of kinship values. In contrast, half siblings share only about 25%, resulting in lower SI and POK. In kinship testing, we use IBS values or identical by state patterns to describe how many alleles two individuals share at each locus. When both alleles are identical, like 13 and 14 compared with 13 and 14, this is IBS 2, meaning two shared alleles and the strongest support for biological relatedness, as in full siblings or a parent-child relationship. When only one allele is shared, such as 29:30 compared with 29:31, meaning the 29 is shared, that is IBS1, showing moderate support for being related. But when no alleles match, for example, allele 15 and 16 versus allele 14 and 18, that is IBS 0, which suggests that the individuals are unrelated at that locus. In general, the more alleles that two people share, IBS2 being the highest, the stronger the genetic evidence of kinship. A full sibling DNA test checks if two people share both biological parents. It compares their DNA profiles to see if they have common genetic markers from the same mother and father. This test is often used in inheritance disputes, immigration cases, and family reunification when the parents are not available for testing. It helps legally confirm if the tested individuals are true full siblings. This table illustrates how shared alleles between two individuals are analyzed in a full siblingship test using STR loci. Each row corresponds to a specific genetic marker or locus, such as D3S1358 or VWA, where short tandem repeats occur in the DNA. The mother's alleles show what each child could have inherited maternally. The putative child number 1 and putative child number 2 are being compared to determine whether they are full siblings. Putative child number 3, however, serves as a reference for an unrelated individual whose alleles do not match the maternal or shared siblings' alleles. The sibling shared allele column highlights which allele is common to both child 1 and child 2, supporting a biological link. The allele frequency P shows how common that allele is in the general population. Since rare alleles carry more evidential weight, the full sibling index is computed as 1 divided by the allele frequency P, meaning the rarer the shared allele, the stronger the support for siblingship. For instance, at locus D3S1358, the shared allele 15 has a frequency of 0.22, giving an FSI of 2.833, indicating moderate support for full siblingship. At locus FGA, the shared allele 22 has a frequency of 0.16, producing a full siblingship index or FSI of 2, again favoring relatedness. By contrast, if alleles are common, such as allele 10 at D7S820 with the p-value of 0.12, the FSI value is smaller, which is 1.217, giving weaker support. The combined full siblingship index or CFSI is the overall value that combines the results from several DNA loci. In this example, the CFSI is 17.6, which means the DNA profiles of sibling number 1 and number 2 are 17.6 times more likely to occur if they share both biological parents than if they are unrelated. A higher CFSI value gives stronger evidence of full siblingship, while a lower value suggests that individuals may not share both parents. The probability of full siblingship shows how likely it is that two people are true full siblings based on their DNA. In this example, the probability of full siblingship is 94.6%, which means there is strong support that putative child number 1 and putative child number 2 share the same biological parents. A half-siblingship test is used to find out if two individuals share only one biological parent, either the same mother or the same father. It compares their DNA to see how closely they are related. This test is commonly used in inheritance cases, child support, disputes, and immigration applications, when one parent is missing or cannot be tested. It helps confirm partial biological relationship within families. The half-siblingship DNA test compares DNA profiles to find out if two or more people share only one biological parent. It uses the formula half-siblingship index or HSI is equal to 1 plus P divided by 4P, where P is the frequency of the shared allele. If there is no shared allele, the value is set to HSI is equal to 0.5, meaning no genetic support for half-siblingship at that locus. In this example, there are no shared alleles in the first two loci, giving an HSI of 0.50 each. However, in the FGI locus, the D7S820 locus, and the D8S1179 locus, shared alleles 24, 11, and 10 give higher HSI values of 2.75, 3.375, and 2.75 respectively. Higher HSI values show stronger genetic evidence that the tested individuals may share one biological parent. The combined half-siblingship index is the overall value obtained by multiplying the individual half-siblingship indices or HSI from each DNA locus. In this example, the CHSI is 6.38, which means that putative sibling number 1 and number 2 are 6.38 times more likely to be half-siblings, sharing only one biological parent, than to be unrelated. A CHS1 greater than 1 supports half-siblingship, while a CHS1 less than 1 suggests the individuals are more likely unrelated. The probability of half-siblingship or the POHS shows how likely two people are to share one biological parent based on their DNA results. So that ends the presentation.